All right, so shutting down during the holiday season could mean the beginning of the end for many of them. Joining us this morning is the Executive Director of the NYC Hospitality Alliance, Andrew Rigie. Thanks for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, first of all, talk to me about your reaction to us. How big of an impact is this going to be? Is this a death knell for a lot of these restaurants?
Yeah, as it was said, I mean, this is an absolutely devastating situation for our local restaurants, for our workers, and for our cities as a whole. We've lost thousands of restaurants already, thousands of jobs, and now people just don't know what they're going to do.
You know, in a statement you released after Governor Cuomo made this announcement, you said that the decision to end indoor dining is at odds with the state's own data. Help us understand what exactly you're referring to there.
Sure. Well, there's a few different data points. First, restaurants, as associated with the state's contact tracing data, are only responsible for about 1.4% of infections, whereas living room spread, people getting together inside, especially when they can't eat inside of restaurants, is about 75% of these infections. So the cause is not highly regulated restaurants here in New York City. It's other types of activities. So listen, we understand public health and safety has to be paramount,
right,
but we are ruining people's lives and they desperately need support. We can't keep giving them more and more restrictions without providing them relief.
Yeah, I hear you. At the same time, though, the number of hospitalizations, they have topped 5,000 for the first time since the pandemic began. So does it make sense to increase the restrictions on public gatherings here?
Well, I think that they need to be equitably applied. I mean, here in New York City, in Manhattan in particular, our infection rate is less than half of what it is in counties throughout New York State that are still open at 50%, not even 25% here in New York City. And if you look at infections or hospitalizations as a percent of the population here in New York City, it's significantly lower than it is elsewhere in the state. So again, you know, public health and safety is paramount, but also the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers, of countless small businesses need to be supported, because then we're going to exacerbate the economic crisis, which impacts people's livelihoods. And like I said before, someone just said to me the other day, I'm not going out to eat. I'm still getting together with my friends or with my family. We're just going to do it inside. And we know that 75% of these infections are coming from that type of activity. So while we need to be safe, we need to be cautious, we all need to work collectively together. If there's going to be more restrictions, these small businesses need relief.
Just to play devil's advocate for a second here, I think some people look at it and say, okay, well, either you're sitting at a table in an apartment, right? That's option one. Or you're sitting at a table inside of a restaurant. What's the difference here? One thing you can control, you can shut down indoor dining, but you can't really shut down people's apartments. That's just the devil's advocate play.
No, I hear you, but I would say in the reverse of that is restaurants are highly regulated. We're talking about tables 6 feet apart. Sometimes there's plexiglass. You're talking about ventilation system. You're talking about a long list of protocols that these restaurants are required to follow. And they've been working. You know, don't forget, restaurants have been open indoors since June at 50% throughout the rest of the state, since September at 25% here in New York City. And infections continue to go down.
Are you seeing more? Are you
Is,
seeing this affect some neighborhoods more than others in terms of restaurants, like maybe in Queens?
You know, you're really getting impacted all over the place. You know, in Midtown Manhattan, for example, where you have very few office workers, you don't have the tourists, they're being hit hard. But really, it doesn't matter if you're in Staten Island, you're in Queens or the Bronx, wherever you are, it's really, really devastating. And what we're saying is, listen, if you're going to shut us down for the greater good of society, then support us. I mean, what are these restaurant workers going to do? They're going to be put out of work again, and we're going to the holiday season. And, you know, outdoor dining, it's going to snow this week. Most people are going to have to shut down their outdoor dining.
I wanted to get to that. I mean, how do you deal with that on top of all of this? Because not only is it going to snow, at a certain point when it snows so much, it completely has to shut down the outdoor dining.
And that's the challenge. You know, outdoor dining has been incredibly important. Don't get me wrong, but, you know, it gets brutally cold in the winter, you know, here in New York City. So people are just not going to eat out. Takeout and delivery is helpful, but that's not going to save restaurants. That's not going to save jobs. So we need financial support from our government leaders. If they are mandating that we shut down, they need to compensate us and they need to provide some support. I mean, again, this is people's livelihoods as well. So we need to do something to help people. There's lots of policies out there. We just need the political will to enact them and help people.
Yeah, you make a very good point about how we at home can help as well. And the best thing we can do is to continue to order out from these restaurants, at least in an effort to help them somewhat. But they really do need to have some kind of relief
Although, Andrew,
package.
let me ask you about that. Don't you think people are more inclined to do that now, since restaurants have been open and we've experienced takeout and curbside dining for many months now, that people are less fearful of it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, everyone should go order in, order out, do takeout, do delivery, go do outdoor dining, go out, support your restaurants. If they have merchandise like shirts or hats, buy them. If they offer gift cards, that's something else you can do. Buy a gift card now to give them some cash flow that they need. And then in the future, when, the situation changes, go out and use the gift card. But we really need to support people. We have to understand that they've been working so hard. They've invested so much money to comply with the state and city protocols. So perhaps there's tax credits and rebates and things the state can do and the city can do to help them. But by all means, if you're in New York, takeout, delivery, make sure you tip the workers. I mean, tip them well, as well as you can. We just need to help people.
Absolutely. Andrew, appreciate your time and your voice this morning.
Thank you.
Stay safe to you.